Hello and welcome to Horror Cult Trash Over, the show that discusses all of the masterpieces and trashpieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we have reached Women in Horror Month yet again. Now, Women in Horror Month used to be an official term, but I believe it is just all year round now, as it should be. I don't think it's an official event, but that may have changed since I last looked, so don't take my word for it. I'm clearly half professional today. But anyway, we still celebrate Women in Horror during February on this podcast, as well as all year round, but specifically February.
It's nice to take some time to celebrate women in horror. We obviously, if you've listened to the podcast, we obviously celebrate women in all films all the time. Yeah. But it's nice to have a moment to really specifically say we are celebrating women in horror.
Yeah. So now that I've finished over explaining that, let's get to our catch-up session.
Yeah, let's have a little catch-up.
What is new with Chris and Gary?
Yeah.
Best and worst of the week. I'm going to go with the worst first. Let's get it out of the way.
Go on and tell us the worst.
The worst is, for me, anyway, might be the same for you, It is Ju-on Black Ghost, which is a shame. I didn't want to start the first episode of Women in Horror Month talking about a bad film directed by a woman. But let's just say it's just not very good.
Yeah.
It's not great.
I'm not sure what they were going for. Obviously, last week we discussed Ju-on in our original versus remake, Triple Bill. So we continued with the box set from Arrow, and I must say it jumped the shark.
It did.
The franchise jumped the shark, and Ju-on Black Ghost was the worst.
Yeah, Ju-on White Ghost was slightly better.
It was average,
a little more entertaining.
Yeah, and it was a little campier, a little sillier.
Ju-on The Grudge 2 was amazing. I loved that, and its stupid fucking ending.
That was fine. Yeah,
I loved it myself. Do you have a different worst of the week?
I'm maybe going to be a little controversial here.
Oh,
and I'm going to say, rather than the worst, the most disappointing, and that was Brain Dead. Brain Dead from 1990. So the Bill
not the Peter Jackson film.
And Bill Paxton film. I thought it was incredibly dull. I had no idea what it was going for. It felt very sort of repetitive, and I didn't have fun with the film when I thought I was going to. So technically, Black Ghost is the worst film, but I was so disappointed by Brain Dead that I've had to put it as my worst of the week.
Yeah, that's one of my highlights.
There we go.
It's not often it happens.
It doesn't happen very often.
For me, it just made me feel really uncomfortable and disorientated, and can't knock it for that. But yes, there's a lot of other things we did agree on, though, like season 1 of The White Lotus.
Yes, finished that. Finally.
After a week.
I was going to say. How behind are we? No, after a week, after like 2 years.
2 years.
Like, ridiculous. Absolutely feels like it was written for us. Hilariously funny, gripping. Really, really enjoyed it. Campus tits.
Yeah. And,
Jennifer Coolidge may be one of the best comedians that we have.
Yeah.
Alive now. A natural comedian. Everything she does is hilarious. She can make one word iconic, and not many people can do that.
Yeah. Very sad ending, because it's so realistic with how it ends and where it puts things, that it's kind of like, oh, well, do you know what? Fuck. It's not how I wanted it to end, but this is probably where it would end in real life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very excited for season 2. And we watched Scala.
We did the documentary Scala from last year and
this year technically.
This year,
yeah, festivals last year, new release this year. We watched that, and we watched 3 of the shorts that showed at Scala: Relax, Flames of Passion, and Coping with Cupid. And all 4 of those were just, including Scala, were fantastic.
Yeah. So for those unaware, because I was only recently made aware.
Yeah.
Scala was a cinema in London back in the 80s and 90s that specialised in cult underground cinema, like John Waters, Thundercrack, sort of not your mainstream
No.
film for a distinct audience of mainly punks and those who didn't mind a filthy environment.
Yeah.
It sounded, to be fair, the films sounded great,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have loved, I would have been there every night. The environment, I got the sense that it probably smelled really bad.
It's a little terrifying.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and one thing I took away from the film, which I thought was great and wasn't really expecting from it, is it's very much a documentary about a safe space for queer people and how important that is, and how more important it would have been at a time when there weren't many safe spaces for queer people. And I just thought that was really touching. I thought it was a really great documentary, some great interviews.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Erotic Thriller Fridays are back, and we started with an erotic drama, obviously, called Tokyo Decadence. That was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be cheap and sleazy and just not very good. I mean, well, not exactly bad, but just I thought it'd be like I'm watching a Channel 5 erotic thriller. But it was actually a great film about a sex worker trying to find her way in life and what it is she wants to do and searching for her place, and handled brilliantly from the author of the book that Audition's based on. He wrote and directed Tokyo Decadence, and he does a fantastic job. There is some beautiful cinematography, a fantastic lead performance, and just some outrageous BDSM scenes that were so entertaining to watch.
Yeah, newly released by 88 Films.
Yeah.
With their new
Japanaki.
Japanaki. That's what it's called, but Japanese film collection. I really enjoyed it. I felt it looked beautiful. Not too long ago, I went on a slight tangent on this podcast, if you remember, about pink films.
Yeah.
And this is definitely a pink film.
Yeah.
It's very extreme, very sexual. And I really enjoyed it.
Best pink film we've seen.
Yes, so I take that back a little bit.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
And it actually feels respectful to women.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's judging sex workers.
Exactly. It's not judging sex workers, it's just showing some of the struggles they have to go through with some of their clients.
Yeah, and I do feel that to a certain degree the film is there to titillate. I do feel maybe we're not the target audience in that sense. But there is a bit of TNA. One of my favourite films, Showgirls, pure TNA. It's there's nothing wrong with that if handled correctly.
Sugar and Spice, I watched for the first time and just regretted not watching it in 2001 when it was first released. Amazing soundtrack, amazing film. Just talking about celebrating women in film. This is how teen comedies should be done from the early 2000s.
I definitely feel that between I would say post Clueless.
Yeah.
The teen comedies, the teen movies, top tier.
Yeah.
Really, those millennial classics.
It's between Clueless and Superbad. As in, I think Superbad was the last good one for a while.
Okay.
Don't quote me on it, but potentially until Booksmart.
Right.
Because a lot of them then went on to be so homophobic and borderline racist and misogynistic with their content and everything. But while some of Sugar and Spice hasn't aged particularly well, a lot of it was a shame because a lot of it was progressive and a lot of it hasn't aged very well. But it's got that good blend there where it's not too distracting to the point it ruins the film.
I think for me personally, there's a distinction between teen movies from that period aimed at women.
Yeah.
And teen movies aimed at men.
Yeah, definitely.
And you get Clueless and you go off in that direction and you get stuff like 10 Things I Hate About You, She's All That I feel are more directed at a female audience. And then you get American Pie, which is definitely more aimed at a male audience. and then you get the offshoot of that, which leads you to Superbad and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. I think there's merit to both films, American Pie and Clueless, but Sugar and Spice is definitely for
Yeah.
me within the aimed at women, written and directed by women. It's a great film, fully recommend.
And with that being said, we have our best of the week.
Yes.
A film that, I mean, if we didn't get it best of the week, people wouldn't be very happy if they knew we'd watched it.
Yeah.
But seriously though, I mean, a lot of people, you know, when a film is hailed as one of the greatest films of all time, a masterpiece, you know, I'm always a little cautious going in as to whether it'll live up to that or not. This lived up to that and then some, and it's not even my favorite Ingmar Bergman film, which blows my mind. It is The Seventh Seal.
The Seventh Seal. I knew what I thought was a lot about The Seventh Seal. I'd seen the references. It was a man playing chess against death, and I thought, oh, I always thought Bergman was so serious, and this would be a good slog, but maybe potentially a depressing slog of a film. And I thought, okay, I'm prepared. And it was actually kind of fun and silly in places and really enjoyable, but also quite serious. And it left me with a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And it lived up to those expectations, but also didn't. In a good way, in a great way.
Yeah, I mean, I'd heard of Seventh Seal from a very young age because I was obsessed with Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey and Last Action Hero, and both have big references in there to the Seventh Seal. And I thought maybe it was parodying the Seventh Seal, but honestly, it's not that far off the tone.
There was a surprising bit of campiness to it at times.
Yeah, and
I thought it was fantastic. Yeah. And I agree with Gary. It's not actually my favorite Bergman film, but we're making our way through the Bergman films, so it hasn't been a dud yet.
They've all been 5 stars.
All been at 5 stars. 5, yeah,
which is amazing. But now we've spoke about artistic art house, surrealism cinema. We are talking about artistic art house, surrealism cinema. We're talking about What Lies Beneath from 2000. Yes. And the spoiler warning is in effect from this very moment on, when I will, from this moment now, when I'm going to ask the question, Chris, what does lie beneath?
Harrison Ford's ability to care about Warren.
That is true. As any man ever hated his job more than Harrison Ford.
I get the idea that Harrison Ford has been forced at gunpoint to star in these films. And I like Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford has been in some fantastic films and given great performances. Yeah. But his way of acting helps. Yeah. In a role such as Han Solo. Yeah. Which is, and Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. The films that put him on the map. Yeah. I actually think he gave it good effort in one of my favourite films of all time, Working Girl.
Great effort.
To try and be more than a handsome grump. Yeah. But in this one, oh God, he's playing to type, isn't he?
I've always said Harrison Ford is one of my favourite actors. And then sometimes I sit down and think about it and I think to myself, why?
Why?
Why? He always just looks depressed and just mumbles his way through everything. I mean, whenever I think of Harrison Ford, the first thing I think of is that part from the Star Wars Holiday Special where Carrie Fisher's singing and he's just there looking depressed. And I feel like that's Harrison Ford in every film, apart from the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah. And you see interviews with him as well, and it seems like he hates the whole process.
Oh, Blade Runner. He's great in Blade Runner.
Shout out, I haven't seen Blade Runner. I've seen Blade Runner, is it 2049?
2049,
yeah. He was good. I'm not saying he's a bad actor.
No, he's not.
I'm not saying he's a bad actor. But contractually obligated.
We should do the film where he acted with a CGI dog for the podcast. I feel like that would be hilarious. Like, could you imagine Harrison Ford being forced to work with a CGI dog for an entire film?
It's Call of the Wild, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. Shout out to Alison Hammond. Do you remember that interview?
Yes. Where she actually got him to have a good time.
And laugh and have fun. And it's like, okay, this is what Harrison Ford could be.
Yeah. More on
more on that, a lot more on that.
Harrison Ford and the massive inconvenience that is his job shortly. Yeah. What Lies Beneath? What a film!
Yeah, it's a film. It's a
great film.
It's a film from the year 2000.
It is. I have a lot of nostalgia. Absolute blockbuster classic for me. Rented it so many times as a kid. I was obsessed. I thought it was an erotic thriller as a kid because I thought that's the scene with the red dress. It's so saucy. Oof! I shouldn't be watching this. But watching it as an adult, I've learned my lesson. It's not as saucy as I once thought. But what it is high fucking camp. It is the highest of high camp. It is Michelle Pfieffer, red wine, Christina Crawford, ghost hunting, fucking detective work. Oh my god. Agatha Christie, played by Michelle Pfieffer. Just perfection.
I have to say, I feel like I picked the VHS up at some point at Virgin Megastore.
You're a fucking closeted gay boy, of course you did.
Yeah. And I kind of looked at it and said, no, thank you. And put it down.
And now you wish.
And then picked up Wild Things. And then watched that.
Yeah.
Now this is where me and Gary differ. Gary thought What Lies Beneath was saucy, and I was watching Wild Things on VHS. But yes, and now I understand that I should have said yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, because absolutely. It is. I mean, yeah, it's melodrama. It's I mean, reliant on Michelle Pfieffer, and thank God she did a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that completely slipped past me as a kid, because I loved Back to the Future as a kid. It was one of my favourite films. Preferred the second one. Third one's good. And I enjoyed Who Framed Roger Rabbit as a kid. I loved Castaway as a kid. I didn't know this was directed by Robert Zemeckis. Of course, director of everything I've just mentioned, as well as Forrest Gump, Contact, Flight, The Polar Express. You can see where he gets his horror from with Polar Express. Romancing the Stone, Death Becomes Her, and more. And honestly, that just blows my mind.
Yeah, I think it's something that maybe we're lacking a bit now with directors, if I'm being perfectly honest. The genre range.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that films, they don't differ. Looking at you, Christopher Nolan, his films are different to each other in many ways. But I don't see Christopher Nolan making a ghost haunted house or a musical at any point. So you have a director like Robert Zemeckis who does so many different genres.
Yeah, very similar to Steven Spielberg. But even before that, you look at someone like Robert Wise. Yeah.
The director of The Sound of Music was also the director of The Haunting.
Robert
Altman. He put a finger in so many pies.
Yeah.
Genre-wise, that is. But you understand what I mean. I feel like now maybe that's potentially lost.
Yeah, I feel like directors stick very close to their genres now.
Yeah, and I think we've got there sort of via a lot of directors who were forced to stay in their genre. I'm looking at you, Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Who maybe didn't want to be typecast in that sense, but were so good at it that they were kind of stuck with it. And I think that's a shame. And we've got to this point now where I would love to see a director, like Greta Gerwig, give me an erotic thriller.
Yeah.
Because I know she could do it. I know she could.
Absolutely.
But I hope that she's not stuck with, because I still think she'd do a fantastic job, but I hope she's not typecast into being a certain kind of director. after the success of Barbie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want range, darling, range.
So Robert Zemeckis filmed this whilst production for Castaway was shut down, so Tom Hanks could lose weight for his character.
Oh.
And he consciously shot this film in the style of Hitchcock if Hitchcock had access to digital technology. The heroine is a blonde, a common trademark of Hitchcock films.
Yeah, I find Brian De Palma is constantly not read, but it's constantly brought up how much he takes from Hitchcock. But I feel like so many thrillers, this absolutely steals a little bit from Hitchcock, which is fine. I would. Okay, he's probably the best to ever do it, so I'd give it a good go. You know.
Well, funny enough, this doesn't just steal from Hitchcock. This, it's actually a loose remake of the Charlie's Angels episode of Ghosts and Angels. So Michelle Pfieffer is even a type for the gorgeous Shelley Hack, who won't relent until she gets to the bottom of things. In that episode, a woman is haunted by the ghost of her husband's deceased wife, who guides her to solve the crime. Many more similarities are too exact to be mere coincidences. The murderer is the husband in both titles, should I say. The husband there made fun of his wife Erica in front of her friend Angel Tiffany for claiming to have seen a ghost in an almost word-for-word replica scene in this film. Norman does the same to Claire in front of friends, and both women then appear tremendously self-conscious in front of their friends when the husband has put them on the spot so callously. The film also recreated the treasure chest scene. In both titles, it is where the information is on the deceased woman, helping solve the crime. In the series, it's a large hope chest. In the film, it's a small wooden jewelry box. The film added on to the basic storyline enough to conceal its obvious origins and not enough to admit that it's a remake, so it doesn't have to pay royalties. Yeah.
Both, eventually end up with independent women.
Yeah.
Part 1.
Yeah. I mean, they couldn't call this Charlie's Angels because it was released the same year as the other Charlie's Angels, so...
I don't think... Yeah, I mean, it would be quite... Well, I don't know.
I'd love to see a Charlie's Angels films dealing with that plot line.
Yeah. I mean... My biggest critique of What Lies Beneath, and I might as well get it out of the way now because it helps me make the point I'm just about to make, is that the film's too long. So I would like to see it in I'm assuming Charlie's Angels in an hour.
Yeah. In
an hour format, because it might actually flow a little better.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Well, it also owes a lot to The Changeling, such as a house being haunted by someone who was murdered, a lead character investigating and uncovering the shocking truth about those murders, objects moving, doors opening by themselves, a seance, baths filling themselves, ghostly faces seen underwater. Both films also have lead characters who work at a university and classical musicians. In What Lies Beneath, Harrison Ford is a university research scientist, and Michelle Pfieffer is a classical cellist. Whereas in The Changeling, George C. Scott is a classical musician composer who works at a university. Also in The Changeling, the lead female character is called Claire Norman. In What Lies Beneath, the main couple are called Claire and Norman.
Oh.
Even their surname, Spencer, which is a family name used in The Changeling. The Spencer family, which used to own a house that's haunted and founded the Spencer Carmichael Corporation that is depicted in the film.
I do think, now that you've said about Castaway, that Robert Zemeckis has just kind of thrown together
He watched a bit of Charlie's Angels, watched The Changeling, it's like, do you know what?
He's like, fuck it, I've got some spare time, let's give it a go and see if it works.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert for something Gary's maybe about to say, but it did work.
It did work.
Yeah.
No,
because
what?
It was a big box office success.
Well, no, I've not got to that yet. Actually.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying.
First, we've got to say who it's written by. So, it's written by Clark Gregg. Yes. Clark Gregg, as in Agent Coulson from the MCU. Star
Oh.
of Sex and the City, The Usual Suspects, Magnolia, 500 Days of Summer, AI, Artificial Intelligence, and many more.
Okay.
Writer of Choke and
Mm.
Trust Me also.
Mm-hmm.
And it's co-written, and this is why we are covering it, by Sarah Kunokan, who did 9.5 Weeks, Summersby, Dancers, Impromptu, Strike, Learning to Drive, and also the director of Marjo and Strike. So, Women in Horror Month, we'll be discussing films either directed and or written by women, and that is what this is. But also, I think films, especially with next week, we do a Valentine's special coming up, a film that's not made by women, but is about a woman, a very different type of representation than this. But I think also with this film being such a strong woman's story as well, I think is also important to cover during Women in Horror Month.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think a big influence for the film and also a big influence for the Charlie's Angels episode would be Gaslight.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone is familiar with the term now, but
Yeah.
obviously it's based on a 1940 film starring Ingrid Bergman. That's about a husband who is, making out that his wife is insane so that he can get away with her riches.
Yeah.
In this case, it's obviously a husband who is gaslighting his wife in an effort to cover up the fact that he had an affair and murdered his mistress. So I think it was a huge influence on both of those films. And it's now a very common term for a certain relationship, mainly between men and women, as it was in the 1940 film.
Yeah, absolutely. So budget $100 million, and it made $291.4 million at the box office, despite the theatrical trailer being criticised for spoiling plot twists, including the identity of the ghost.
Oh. But yeah, huge success.
Yeah.
10th in the box office, I think, for that year. Which I think for maybe what could have been a throwaway film.
Yes. So many throwaway films like this later on in the 2000s.
Just, female-centered horror films. Proper female-fronted, front and center. We got a slew of them afterwards, I think. And I think this really started that precedence.
Yeah.
But maybe caught people off guard. But the advertising was everywhere, if I remember correctly.
Oh god, yeah.
I couldn't escape it. 23 years ago, but I do remember it was everywhere. So maybe the name value, Michelle Pfieffer, Harrison Ford, and Robert Zemeckis, maybe that helped as well.
Oh, definitely. Should we talk about who's in it?
Yes, in a section we like to call "Hey, I Know You."
Her Majesty, Lord and Saviour, Michelle Pfieffer.
Pfieffer.
She is here. She is serving cunt. She is, as the kids say these days, serving pussy. She is just every gay praise word you can think of. Throw it at her, because she fucking slays this film every second she's on screen. Yes, her outfits may not be as big a slay, but there's one scene that makes up for all of that. She absolutely dedicates everything to acting like a bored housewife in this film who just fancies getting wine drunk and solving mysteries and hunting ghosts. And I love her for it. She plays Claire Spencer, and she is the legend who starred in Batman Returns, One Fine Day, Hairspray, Mother. She is Mother. Sacrifice? Scarface, even. What the fuck is Sacrifice? Ant-Man and the Wasp, Murder on the Orient Express, Dark Shadows, and so many more. She stated in an interview, as if weren't slayed enough, stated in an interview that she used Drew Barrymore's method of projecting fear to help her get into character. Queens standing queens.
Good job she didn't have that bleach blonde bob, though.
Well, they both had ugly outfits, so.
They did.
She also stated that she was initially put off by all the technical aspects of the film, but eventually learned to embrace them. And in the end, she found an experience both educational and enjoyable.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her. I think she gives a fantastic performance.
She does. She does. Any other Michelle Pfieffer films you want to mention?
From her my god, so many. You missed Grease 2.
Oh, yes, that's true.
Did you mention The Prince of Egypt?
I did not.
Yeah. Witches of Eastwick, Dangerous Liaisons, one of my favourites, and Dangerous Minds.
Yeah.
If you're going to do a dangerous double bill of Michelle Pfeiffer films.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, iconic. I think a big box office name as well. So. I genuinely, particularly at this time, coming off the success of Batman Returns, and if I remember correctly, Dangerous Minds was quite a success as well. So yeah, definitely, well chosen. This role.
Well, her and next up on our list, Harrison Ford, were director Robert Zemeckis' first and only choices for these roles. Harrison Ford plays Dr. Norman Spencer, of course, the star of Indiana Jones, Star Wars, The Fugitive, Blade Runner, Witness, Working Girl, 1923, Apocalypse Now, American Graffiti, Air Force One, and so many more. But this is his only horror film, and the first film in which he plays a major villain, because he had a minor role as a villain in The Conversation. But aside from that, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm not surprised, I suppose. No.
Can you imagine him in more horror films?
I don't. Yeah, no, I don't really. I think he's great as a handsome action star.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be anything else.
Yeah, I do think the struggle was real with this one. I'm not surprised he didn't really do it again.
Yeah.
I just got the idea that he did not want to be there.
No. Someone who did want to be there was Diana Scarwid as Jodie. She is Christina Crawford in Mummy Dearest.
She certainly is.
Silkwood, Truman, Pretty Baby, Another Happy Day, Dream Boy, Local Colour, Red Fred, Party Monster, The Angel Doll, and more. Doesn't get the best performance in Mummy Dearest, but she is fucking great here.
She plays to her strengths. I've only seen her in 2 films, but her performance in Mummy Dearest was comical, so I'm assuming she's a great comedian, because she is quite funny in this, and she plays almost a comic relief character as well. I think she does great. But what a filmography for. I don't think she's queer, but maybe a queer icon. Because Party Monster, Psycho 3, If These Walls Could Talk, there's some pretty camp classics there.
Yeah, absolutely. Miranda Otto is in this as Mary Fleur. She was the star of The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers and Return of the King, The Thin Red Line, Spielberg's War of the Worlds, Talk to Me last year, Annabelle Creation, and more.
Who was she in Talk to Me?
She was the mum.
Oh, because she is, if I remember correctly, is she
Australian?
Yeah. Oh, nice. She didn't do much in this, not gonna lie.
She doesn't, no. But playing her husband is...
Playing her husband?
James Remar as Warren Fleur. He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Django Unchained, Oppenheimer, Sex and the City, Cruising, Hellraiser Inferno, previous podcast film, and Cruising, Pineapple Express, and more. Now, Mr. Sex and the City expert over here. Who was he in Sex and the City?
He had the recurring role of Samantha's boyfriend, the one who owned the hotels.
And who was Clark Gregg in Sex and the City?
Clark Gregg? Who was Clark Gregg in this?
The writer.
Oh.
Agent Coulson from the MCU.
Oh, Agent Coulson. I think he was a random Miranda date.
I think he was
for one film.
Yeah. One episode.
For one episode, yeah. And I get confused. But he played. So James Ramar. He played Richard.
Yeah.
So recurring role, probably after Smith, Samantha's main squeeze. So, and also he barely does anything in this film as well.
Well, do you have anyone else?
I don't think I do actually. I think there's maybe a few, but none that scream out to me.
Those are all the mains.
Yeah.
I mean, who was the mother of the murdered girl? Because she was in
Mrs.
one of
Frank.
Yeah, she was in one of those roles where it's like, I feel like you're a bigger deal than
I think
you
she's played a lot of small roles in a lot of
okay.
films. So just looking at her filmography now, Nicole Mercurio, which is a fantastic name. She was in While You Were Sleeping, Flashdance, Alligator, The Client, The Grifters, Peter Bogdanovich's Mask. Yeah, I'm assuming in smaller roles.
Yeah.
But she's especially got one of those recognizable faces.
She has.
Catherine Town, you might recognize. She played Caitlin Spencer.
Okay.
And she was in.
Talking of someone who doesn't get much to do.
Yeah, that's very true. She was in Mulholland Drive.
Oh.
But I'm a Cheerleader. She's All That.
Mm-hmm.
What's that one with the? I'm seeing the poster, but I'm forgetting the name. Oh, Blades of Glory. Oh dear.
Okay. Blades of Glory.
Oh, is it? I thought it was Blades.
Maybe. It's awful either way. Doesn't matter.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, of course. Unfortunately.
I don't know. How many Will Ferrell films? It's like.
It doesn't matter. Let's talk about our feature presentation.
He was the perfect husband until his one mistake.
Did you know her?
I had an affair with her. She threatened to kill herself.
Followed them home.
There's a ghost in my house, and now she's trying to hurt you.
Stop it.
Who do you think it is?
I know exactly who it is.
Harrison Ford.
Tell me what to do.
Michelle Pfieffer.
Something is happening!
What lies beneath? Rated PG-13.
Former cellist Claire Spencer and her husband Norman, an accomplished scientist and professor, live a quiet life at their lakeside home in Vermont. Claire wakes up in the bath and uses a hairdryer to remove steam from her bathroom mirror before waking up her daughter Caitlin by saying, "Good morning, beauty."
It's so like Real Housewives of Orange County coded.
Carl Richards.
Well, good morning, beauty.
No, Beverly Hills, I'm thinking.
Well, either of them really. But it feels like something Vicky Gumbelson would do. Good morning, beauty. My mum woke me up like, "Good morning, beauty." I mean, what the fuck are you going on about? Piss off. And I love my mum to bits. It's nothing against my mum, but very American.
Yeah.
Good morning, beauty. Fuck. Who the fuck are you calling beauty? Are you taking the piss? Piss off.
That bathroom, 5 different versions of the bathroom set were constructed, so various parts of the same scene could be filmed at different times on opposite coasts.
Okay, nice.
Bathroom is a key.
It's a nice
location
bathroom
in this film.
That's the kind of tub I'd like.
Yeah.
But I
Do you think Meredith Marks would appreciate it?
Meredith Marks would love that tub. Yeah. It's a big one as well, though. I don't think I've ever been in a tub that big.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a Lush bath bomb would go?
Yeah, maybe. We get to see full use of it.
Yeah, that's true.
And in that bathroom, Michelle Pfeiffer's like, in a town full of dirty secrets, everyone could use a bath. Claire notices their new neighbours, Mary and Warren Fuhr, have a volatile relationship and watches them argue whilst Norman tries it on with her, much to her annoyance. She's like, "Norman Spencer."
Yeah, she's been a nosy bitch at the window. The film is reliant on her being a bit of a nosy bitch. Yeah. So Norman tries to bang her against the window.
But, what's their daughter still there?
But Caitlin's in the other room, so she's like, "No, Norman." No. I feel like Norman Spencer, and it's annoying me.
Is a British
comedy.
Actor
Norman Spencer. Well, he was a British film producer.
Close enough.
Which is great. But I feel like, yeah, it might come to me. It might not. It's either Porridge.
I know what you mean. Do you mean Norman Wisdom?
No. Oh, is it? Oh, okay. It probably won't come to me.
Yeah.
So if you know, DM me. Let me know.
So Norman and Claire's relationship is strained, particularly after Caitlin leaves for liberal arts college.
Of course, she. Of course, sorry. Of course, she leaves for liberal arts college. She's giving me Riot Girl energy.
Yeah.
She's giving me Tank Girl. We barely fucking see her for the rest of the
It's
film.
true.
So
We
it's-
don't
it's
see
a
her for the rest of the
damn
film, do we?
shame. No, I suppose we
I think this is
don't.
it.
Yeah. But I'm living for it, and it's a damn shame
Yeah.
that her and her probably queer roommate aren't seen more in the film.
Norman and Claire, they start having sex when they hear neighbour Mary moaning loudly. So Claire suggests they leave the window open so they can try outdoing them. Sadly, because it's a PG-13, we never get to find out if Claire managed to outdo neighbour Mary.
Yes, I got an issue with this.
Yeah.
Because they're really nice houses. This is definitely rich white people problems,
Mhm.
the movie. And the neighbours are really far away.
Yeah.
So it's how loud must they have been?
Uh-huh.
Like ridiculous.
And also, she's been, like, spying on them because she knows things have been getting really heated.
Mm.
Surely, at that point, she'd be like, oh my god, maybe I should check and see if everything's okay.
Oh,
But no, she's like, no, do you know what? Fuck it, let's outdo them.
maybe she's getting killed rather than
Yeah. Get a treat.
orgasming.
Well, someone else has an orgasm. It's Claire, spoiler alert. Whilst the next day, while she's looking at old photos of her and Norman.
She loves
It's a
rummaging
strange
through
reaction.
old clippings, doesn't she?
I don't know what's going on here, but she's just looking and she's just like, oh my god, okay. They're just photos.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand why she takes issue with these. She does a lot of looking through photos.
She does.
Bless her.
She does.
Her biggest character trait is the fact that her life, she's got empty nest syndrome.
Yeah.
So Caitlin has gone off to liberal arts college. Norman isn't spending enough time at home.
Uh-huh.
He's very busy at work, and she doesn't play the cello anymore.
No.
Despite the cello being in the house, because spoiler alert, she plays it later. So I don't know why she doesn't just give herself a chance and play it.
Yeah.
But anyway, but she feels unfulfilled.
She does.
Yeah, she's taken a step back
Mm-hmm.
in her career, and she doesn't know what she's doing. So she does a lot of sitting on the floor and reminiscing over newspaper clippings and old photos.
Yeah.
And such.
She was definitely that mum to Caitlin, like going out with her and her friends like, oh, I thought you were a sister. Oh. That sort of
Which if it was
relationship.
Michelle Pfieffer, I'd be like, yes, come and
Yeah.
join us. Just don't wear what you're wearing in this scene.
No. She runs outside for a cry.
She does.
Where she hears neighbour Mary crying. She goes over to the fence to ask if she's okay when neighbour Mary gives her a jump scare and is in hysterics. Great scene for the trailer.
Yeah.
She panics when her husband returns home and runs away in a very camp way.
Yeah. Claire suspects that Mary's been abused by her husband.
Yes.
Because of the way that she talks.
Yeah.
Which, again, like Gary said, in the context of the trailer, is fantastic. In the film as a whole, is a bit of a dud of a red herring. If I'm being perfectly honest.
I loved this red herring. When I was a kid, I was convinced this was what the film was about.
Yeah.
I
which is the
thought,
whole
oh my god,
point.
what are they gonna do? Pull them around the Otto.
But it's kind of, a lot of the film is reliant on this really weird phrasing that she
Yeah.
uses.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it does come across that way with the way she's acting. It's fucking sketchy. And
Yeah, but
really, Michelle Pfieffer should be calling the police.
spoiler alert, yeah, the way she's acting is if her husband potentially could kill her. That's the way she's acting.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert, he isn't.
No.
And by the sort of halfway point, it's revealed that that isn't the case, and they're lovey-dovey and loving life.
Yeah, she's like a reverse Marion Crane.
Yeah, so it feels a little forced, if I'm being honest. Can I just I need to speak about this.
Yeah.
Did Michelle Pfeiffer really agree to wearing a pink polo shirt, ill-fitting stonewashed jeans, and chunky sandals?
I hope it's not her own wardrobe.
You know the scene in Mean Girls where Katie has to wear pink on a Wednesday, and she borrows a shirt because she hasn't got anything, and all her clothes aren't really Americanized or stylish. She looks like that.
She does.
But the pink it looks like it's gone on too hot a wash.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not good.
It's not.
I'm not a fan.
So Claire tries telling Norman about it over dinner, but he isn't interested.
Oh, he couldn't give two shits.
No. He reminds her that he's got to go away for work. The next day, Claire's walking back to her front door and it's like, "Hey lady, what are you doing?" And it's her friend, her mystic friend Jodie.
Jodie the hippie.
She stopped by to see how she's holding up and she confides in her. Jodie, being the great friend that she is, has brought some kombucha mushroom tea to soothe headaches and promote psychic wellness.
Yes.
I mean, should we get some kombucha mushroom tea and see if it works?
Yeah.
We could all start acting like Jodie.
Kombucha is, you know, those fizzy drinks that I get that are meant to be good, like fermented, good for your stomach. You do realise that's what that is.
I do, I'm fully aware.
And it kind of tastes like arse.
Yeah, but I mean, add mushrooms into it.
Add mushrooms to it. Can't go wrong. If raspberry and passion fruit doesn't work, add mushrooms.
Well, funny enough, kombucha mushroom tea isn't the fanciest thing that Jodie has with her on this day.
No.
Instead, it's her new car.
Yes.
Which she does a pose on. She's slaying, and she's like, "Yes, it's a beautiful thing, alimony. You lose a husband, get a car." I'm like, "Yes, bitch."
She says, "I think it will help me pick up dudes."
Yes.
It's giving Sutton Strack.
Mm-hmm.
A slightly kooky but rich woman who
Yeah.
gets paid alimony.
Uh-huh.
And I'm living for it. Good old Jodie.
Yeah, she's got a very exciting life, but we know who hasn't. Poor Claire, who was so bored of her life to the point she's playing solitaire on her own on the computer.
Surely it can't be that bad. Just break the cello out for fuck's sake.
One dark and stormy night, when she has a power cut and notices neighbour Warren taking something wrapped in bin bags into his car. She wakes Norman up to show him, but by the time he looks, there's nothing there, and it's scared the life out of me as a kid. Oh my god. Murdered her. Fuck.
Yeah, this is a direct reference to not only the film Disturbia, but to Rihanna's music video for the song Disturbia. It's incredible.
Yeah. Ahead of its time.
Obviously, like so many films, it's Rear Window. Which is great. I mean, Rear Window has probably one of the best premises in film history.
Yeah.
Might as well copy that.
Yeah.
It's great.
Absolutely.
Worked in The Simpsons.
Yeah. Claire goes
He
down...
looks a little like Ned Flanders as well, actually. He had a moustache.
Yeah. Claire goes down to the lake when Cooper, the family dog, refuses to catch his favourite ball. She then sees a woman's body in the lake and begins to sense an unseen presence in the house, which starts when the front door opens by itself, followed by the radio switching itself on.
Ooh.
She visits Norman at work. Big inconvenience. Do you know what? As if Harrison Ford isn't inconvenienced enough, he's also being interrupted at work now. When she goes there, they're talking about a new serum that they're testing on rats that can paralyze someone. And they make a big point of it.
Yeah.
Wonder if that's going to come back later on.
Come back later on.
It's not subtle at all. She tells him about the strange goings on, so he goes home and tells her he'll get the police to check the house out. She has a laugh at him because he overreacts and gets sensitive about his dead father.
I got a little
fucking
confused.
loser.
This is how I interpreted it as well, because he tells a story of someone forgetting that his father had died, And she tells him that he overacts about it all the time. Okay, it's a bit harsh. It's not very nice, is it?
Funny though.
Do you know what you overreact about? Your father's death.
After neighbor
Still going on about your dead dad. Fucking hell.
After neighbor Mary is unseen for several days, Claire suspects neighbor Warren may have killed her. Claire visits their house and chats with neighbor Warren, who tells her neighbor Mary isn't there and refuses to tell her when she'll get back.
Yeah, he acts very suspiciously. As if he's hiding something. But he's not.
Yeah. So it makes you question, what was he up to?
Oh yeah, because there's a shoe out front
There
with
is.
blood on, and I don't think that's ever really explained, is it?
It's not, no.
So maybe that was never her shoe. Maybe he was having an affair.
Yeah. That night, Claire spies on neighbor Warren with binoculars whilst talking with gal pal Jodie on the phone, giving her all the tea.
Yeah.
She watches him eat dinner alone, and then when Jodie hangs up, Warren catches her watching him. She's there using binoculars, but I don't know what fucking opticians Warren went to, but his glasses,
He's got great
he can
vision.
see fucking so far away, he can see Michelle Pfieffer watching him.
Now, when she says to Jodie about a TV dinner, does she mean that Warren ate a TV dinner?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Oh, okay, that's good.
I believe so.
Because I thought that because we get a jump scare and it's Norman returning home.
Yeah.
And Norman tells her, come on, you've got 5 minutes to get ready. We've got dinner reservations with a friend of his.
Yeah.
So I thought that she'd eaten a TV dinner and now she's been forced to eat a second dinner because she's too embarrassed to tell him that she forgot and ate a TV dinner.
Yeah.
But then I don't feel like she's the kind of character that would have a TV dinner.
No, but she is bored with life. She's
bored
having a sad
with
time.
life, yeah.
But yes, he comes back and they have plans with Stan and his new squeeze, Elena. Now, the scene in between this and when they get to dinner, when they're in the car, nothing of note happens, but I just wanted to point out the lovely shot of the two of them talking, and you can only see them through the rear view mirrors.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought, great bit of cinematography.
Very nice.
Claire knows Elena and is happy for a catch-up with her old gal pal. The four of them all talk over each other at dinner, like they're in a Robert Altman film.
Yeah.
And Claire tells them that she gave up being a musician for a living so she could marry Norman. What a fucking shit decision that was.
Yeah, so Elena, she knew Claire from, I think she went to Juilliard.
Yeah.
So they were in the same class, and Elena's saying how wonderful Claire was, top of the class.
Yeah.
Really just, A-star student, and rightfully starts asking questions about why such a talent would give up playing cello. Norman, the prick, he mentions / gaslights Claire at the dinner table over the weird things happening at the house in an effort to embarrass her.
Yeah.
/ to take the heat off him for really being the reason why Claire doesn't play the cello anymore.
Yeah. Elena believes in ghosts. Of course she does.
It is a bit... I do feel this film, it does sort of play into the tropes of women believing and men not believing in the supernatural. I do feel like it kind of plays into those stereotypes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Which is, I mean, fine if you're going to be campy about it.
Back at home, a framed article about Norman falls off his desk and shatters, leading Claire to discover an odd key inside a vent.
Oh, and it leads to the discovery in a horrible way. I hate it, because she gets a piece of glass in her foot. Yeah. And it's like, I hate that. Vomiting in films and glass or nails or anything sticking into a foot, I'm not a fan of.
Yeah. Good on Robert Zemeckis for finding something disgusting to add into a PG-13.
Yeah, that's true.
She finds her bathtub mysteriously filled and sees another woman's reflection in the water.
Very camp scream
it
from
is.
Michelle Pfieffer.
It is.
perfect for the
She
trailer.
really could have been a big screen queen.
She could have.
Confiding in a psychiatrist, Claire and Jodie then hold a seance with neighbour Mary's shoe, a bottle of red wine,
Mm-hmm.
a candle, and a Ouija board in the fucking bathroom.
Do you know what I find surprising? Is that her psychiatrist told her to do this.
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So someone believes.
Yeah.
A man believes.
A man believes.
A man believes.
He's probably gay.
Yeah, maybe.
Honest to God, this is so camp.
It is.
This is just the height of camp. This is. They're both clearly wine drunk, doing a fucking messy Ouija board. Oh my God. Amazing.
The doors that practical magic opened for wines swilling.
According to the original script by Clark Gregg, the scene with the Ouija board was started by Jodie. Later, she runs out screaming after the seance gets a little out of hand, and the scene was changed for the film in order to emphasise how much Claire thinks she's losing her mind.
Okay.
I'm glad it's like this, although Jodie running out screaming could have been camp as well.
That could have been, because we end on a jump scare.
We do. Well, the candle blows out on its own.
Yes.
The planchette moves slightly on its own. And the bathroom door begins to open on its own when Cooper comes in for a jump scare.
Cooper.
She finds, after this, she finds the bathroom, the bathtub filled again with the message, "You know," written on a steamy mirror, while her computer inexplicably types the initials MEF. So she goes to visit Norman in work again. He's exhausted at this point. And she gets there and she's like, "She's dead!" And he's like, Who's dead? And she's like, "You know damn well who's dead." And then she's just like going off at him. She tells him she's being haunted by neighbour Mary's ghost, and he accuses her of trying to sabotage his success at work. He actually says,
he says, "Are you angry with me? Do you resent the amount of time I spend at work?"
Yes.
I am the Harrison Ford whisperer, and I understand what he says. And she says, rightfully says, "Norman, this isn't about you.
Yes.
Something is happening to me, and it's not to get even, and it's not some warped bid for attention. Something is happening in our house, whether you like it or not." My question is, on the computer, MEF is typed over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So why didn't they just type the full name? Because, spoiler alert, the maybe dead woman who lives next door seems to have the same initials as the girl that Norman killed after having an affair with her, which is a wonderful coincidence. But the fact that despite being able to type numerous times, the ghost didn't think to just type her own full name.
But it's on the Solitaire website, and it was a leadership board, so you might only be able to do 3 letters at a time.
Okay.
I suppose you could still spell it out.
So why not MEN, like MAR? Why is it like, oh? Well, her name's not Mary, is it? Actually,
No.
What was the name of the
Madison.
Madison.
Yeah.
Oh, you could have typed Madison. Yeah.
Claire confronts Warren, and she says, You think you're smart, don't you? You think you got away with it, but I know what you did, you murdering son of a bitch." And it's given Real Housewives.
It is.
It's so awkward, so camp. Neighbour Mary makes it even more camp and awkward when she walks over, alive and well. Later, she goes on to explain that she went to stay with her mother in Providence after a fight with neighbour Warren.
Yeah,
Of course.
Mary apologizes for scaring Claire as she did, because Claire rightfully says, "I distinctly remember you saying that you thought that you may be dead soon."
Yeah.
Like, you actually said those words. She's like, "Yeah, I said those words, but I didn't really mean them."
Jodie leaves Claire a gift on her doorstep, a copy of the book Witchcraft, Ghosts and Alchemy.
Oh.
Claire and Norman go to his work gathering. The neighbours are there, and an hilarious scene. Neighbour Warren pretends to strangle neighbour Mary for a laugh.
So everyone's gaslighting her.
Yeah, Claire continues to get wine drunk, like she's done through most of the film so far. She's had enough.
Half her blood's wine at this point.
An old lady tells her that she's glad she's okay and reminds her of the last time she saw her when Claire broke the lady's crystal and went pale like she had seen a ghost. On the back of Norman's article, Claire finds a story about a missing woman named Madison Elizabeth Frank.
MEF.
MEF. Now the real plot kicks in. So,
do you know what I miss in films now?
what?
A slow-ass internet photo reveal.
Yes.
As the pixels become clearer.
Not enough women Google things to solve mysteries in films anymore.
Well, they do, but the photo just pops up straight away. I like when it takes a while for the photo to appear clearly.
Claire confronts Norman about Madison and tells him she thinks Madison's haunting her, so he continues to gaslight her. Of course. She then does what every woman in a horror film does at this point and tracks down Madison's mother. She offers her a coffee. She's like, just plain coffee. None of that mocker nonsense. And it's like, you look a little old for a student. Like, okay, fucking rude.
Yeah. Number one, who the fuck asked for a mocker?
I know.
Like,
back in my day.
It's the kind of people who voted for Brexit.
It is.
It's that energy. Like, no one asked for a mocker. And people are allowed a mocker if they want a mocker. Dickhead.
Claire visits her daughter's bedroom where she steals a lock of Madison's hair that happens to be hanging up on the wall.
Who keeps their hair
And
around?
notices a photo of her wearing an unusual necklace. So, performing a ritual from a book, Claire attempts to conjure Madison. And in an iconic series of events, possibly a sequence of events that helped jumpstart my love for camp cinema. Seemingly possessed by her spirit, Claire aggressively seduces Norman, shocking him by speaking as Madison. She's like, "Hello, Dr. Spencer." Takes an apple from his hand and says, "Forbidden fruit. You got a problem with that?" She then proceeds to sit on some stairs, open her legs with a candle in the middle of them, and eats the fucking apple.
Not Michelle Pfieffer doing the number 17, the spread eagle.
Oh my god. The Sharon
Incredible.
Stone,
Yeah.
Basic Instinct. It is...
PG-13.
The,
Sharon Stone.
Either way, it is a gigantic slay. Child me thought this was porn. I thought this was the height of erotica. And, it's just amazing.
I'm not an expert, but hopefully if there's any women listening, maybe could answer this question for me. When you want to seduce a man, all you have to do is open your legs? Is that the signal?
Well, this film is written by a woman, so...
Potentially, but, you know...
No, it is written by a woman.
No, potentially this part was written by a woman.
Ah, wow, yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. So if you're trying to seduce a man, all you have to do is just open your legs. And
it's how it works with cinema history.
Is that a universal thing? Is that worldwide?
But either way, it's a slay.
It's an absolute
She forces
slay.
the apple into his mouth before licking his mouth and biting his lip. She pushes him onto the desk and starts licking his chest whilst reaching for a letter opener, about to go full Sharon Stone. And she's like, "Why don't you shut up, Professor?" And then she spots herself in the mirror watching them, and then she mutters the iconic lines of dialogue. "I think she's starting to suspect something." And Harrison Ford's like, "Who?" And she's like, "Your wife." Honest, I just... chills.
It's great. It's a great scene. Michelle Pfeiffer gets to do something different to the I'm being gaslit or I'm an empty nester sort of thing, which is really cool. I don't know where it fits into Madison's story though, because the whole idea is that Madison is trying to get some sort of redemption or not redemption, excuse me, some sort of revenge against Norman.
I suppose it's
so. Was she actually going to try and kill him?
Well,
Or-
she was reaching for the letter
Or had it
opener.
just been a while and she was like, well, I might as well get a shag first.
Well, she was reaching for the letter opener, and I
Hmm.
think it was kind of a way of saying, yeah, look, I'm back, bitch.
Yeah.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
Norman pushes her off him, which causes her to drop the lock of hair as she becomes herself again. So while she was doing all this, she was gripping onto a lock of hair, just to make it more count. Claire recalls a repressed memory about Norman's affair with a student, Madison, which he admits happened during a rough patch in their marriage.
Oh.
She leaves to spend the night with Jodie, who reveals that a year earlier she saw Norman arguing with Adamant. Sorry, no. She saw him arguing with a woman at a cafe in Adamant, a nearby town. Is that a real place?
Yeah. But adamant is a word, so it must also be a town, but it's also
Adamant.
the singer of Goody Two Shoes and Prince Charming. Sadly, this is the last we see of
It
Jodie.
is.
And there's a fair chunk of film still left, so
Yes.
I'm a little disappointed.
Well,
There's this whole thing, Jodie revealing that she'd seen Norman with a woman. She says, I'm so sorry, can you ever forgive me? And Claire's just like, yes, I forgive you. End scene. Jodie never to be seen again.
I mean,
I feel like in these sort of films, you kind of have to have someone who is killed
yeah,
to sort of show the to show the bad guys how far they're willing to go,
Yeah.
sort of thing. I'm sure there's a better way of phrasing that, but I haven't got it. So I assumed Jodie was going to be killed at some she was going to come in at the end and be like, oh Claire, are you okay? I've just seen the bathtub is full of water. And then Jodie would be killed.
yeah,
Oh my god, what's his name? From The Shining.
yeah, Dick.
Dick, yeah, it is Dick. In my head I was like, Dick, yeah. Like Dick in the Shining.
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna have that moment, but we didn't actually.
Going against expectations.
There we go.
Groundbreaking piece of cinema. Returning home, Claire finds Norman unconscious in the tub, which he assures her was an accident and not a suicide attempt.
Yeah, so the hairdryer and when we sort of think about it now, I'm like, oh, okay, it's like slaps you around the face. Like, what was the point of her with the hairdryer earlier, if not to establish there's a hairdryer in the bathroom?
Yeah.
So Norman is in the tub, the shower's on, but he's in the tub and the hairdryer's next to him. So it's like, okay, he's tried to kill himself with a hairdryer in the... I don't think you could do that in the UK. Do you know, I
can't say I've done research to find out.
No, I haven't. No. I mean in the sense of having plugs in the bathroom. I feel like in America there's a lot of plugs really close to baths and showers. And I don't think you could do that here. And we've got something, but it's specifically for shavers, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, electric shavers. Which is an interesting little tidbit, UK versus the US. I mean, famously, you put a toaster in the bath. I don't think you couldn't do that here. That's what I'm trying to say.
Anyway,
why was it always a toaster? Why was it the toaster? Do you think there's like a famous case? Maybe. I do a little research.
Yeah, Jennifer Tilly and Bride of Chucky.
Yeah,
it's a famous case.
I'll do some research. I'll let you know.
Norman tells Claire that an unstable Madison confronted him at home when he ended the affair, but denies killing her. Standing on the dock with Madison's hair, Claire is pulled into the lake by an unseen force, spotting a jewellery box matching Madison's necklace. Norman pulls her to safety, and together they burn the lock of hair.
I bet that stank. I bet that really
probably
smelled bad. The smell of burning hair. Ooh,
yeah.
Not good.
Probably smelled bad to begin with.
Why Madison looked like a clean young woman?
How long's it been there?
It's hair though, isn't it? Hair doesn't die like that, does it?
Well,
what happens to, hair
oh my god,
hair
okay, we don't need to get into this, it's okay. Claire thinks Madison's...
No, I suppose it would, wouldn't it? I mean, if you when you're buried, is your hair the last to go?
I have no idea.
Again, I'll do a little bit of research for you.
Thank you. Claire thinks Madison's spirit has gone, so celebrates by playing the cello again.
Finally, it's about fucking
It is
time.
honestly cunty. It's such a slay. Her playing the cello.
I think there is something inherently cunty about playing,
Yeah.
particularly a cello, but I feel like any stringed instrument.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think playing any instrument actually, apart from like the recorder. I'm not a fan of the recorder.
No.
But there's something inherently cunty about being able to play a musical instrument. Don't you agree?
I definitely agree. Claire's suspicious.
Playing an instrument well.
Yes.
Yes.
Claire's suspicions return. She didn't get long to be happy.
Shouldn't.
Her suspicions return when Norman claims not to know about the cafe in Adamant, where she sees the same necklace and jewelry box at a nearby shop.
Yeah, it's all a bit of guff now, isn't it?
It is. Recovering the box from the lake and unlocking it with the key from Norman's office, she finds Madison's necklace inside, so she confronts Norman, who says that he came home to find Madison had killed herself. In desperation, he pushed her car into the lake with her body inside. Okay, Richard Hillman, sure.
For anyone who doesn't know, Richard Hillman was a very famous in the UK serial killer within the soap opera Coronation Street, who drove his family into, I think it was a canal, wasn't it?
It was a
Rather than
canal.
lake, into a canal. If you are unfamiliar, I suggest you YouTube it.
The whole Richard Hillman saga.
The whole Richard Hillman saga. It's high camp. It's top tier entertainment.
Norman agrees to confess and call the police, but Claire discovers he didn't dial 911, he dialed 411.
Fucking hell. I mean, that's a dangerous game to play,
It is.
Isn't it? Like, why wouldn't he just dial, like, 222? Why be so close? Like, 411. Yeah. Why isn't it just, like, completely random? He could have unintentionally rang 911.
That number could lead somewhere.
Yeah. Well, no, what's the 411? Oh, what's the 411?
The 411 is he's paralysed her with halophane, the serum that was being tested out in the lab earlier on.
Halophane.
Admitting.
Mr. Halophane. Thank you. That's 2 Chicago references in one episode.
He admits that he murdered Madison when she threatened to expose their affair to the dean.
Bastard. Okay. We knew this was going to be the reveal. Why did we have to go all around the houses, all around the towns and everything?
Robert Zemeckis was desperate to reach that 2 hour and 10 minute
runtime. Oh my god. I just, like, why do we have to have him deny knowing her, and then deny killing her, and then admit that he had the affair, but then said that she killed herself, and then we get to the point where it's like, yes, I had the affair, and yes, I killed her. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah, this is definitely where the film kind of loses it a bit. He puts Claire in the bathtub, filling it with water to stage her suicide. As he removes Madison's necklace from Claire's neck, her face contorts into Madison's corpse, and he jerks back, smashing his head on the sink and knocking him unconscious. Now, when I first watched this was so intense. The water level rises, Claire recovers enough to turn it off and dislodge the plug, and she barely survives drowning. It's intense, but then, for the next what feels like half an hour...
Yeah.
She just walks around the house constantly.
Yeah.
It's, oh my god, okay, we get it.
I love the scene. Her in the bathtub. Is she going to drown? Is she not? I love that. I think the sound design is great. Yeah. I feel like Michelle Pfieffer plays it so well. Really, really enjoyed that scene. But yeah, it could have fucking finished the film after.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shame.
She eventually flees in...
I'm sorry. I've just seen in my notes. Go on, Harrison. Give us nothing. You can insert that to any part of this film.
It's true. She flees in Norman's truck, but he climbs on and attacks her, and, in Richard Hillman style again, They crash into the lake, dislodging Madison's car and her body whilst Norman tries to drown Claire. Madison grabs Norman, allowing Claire to escape as Norman drowns and Madison's ghost drifts away. Queens helping Queens.
Yes. What does Claire say to Norman as
What's
the
she
last
say?
lines of the film? Please think of Caitlin. And I have to say, who the fuck was Caitlin?
I know, she didn't think of Caitlin.
She didn't
Soon,
think of Caitlin.
when she fucking turned into full Ghostbuster, she soon forgot about Caitlin.
Who the fuck was Caitlin? Please think of Caitlin. I was like, well, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. What, it's been about 2 hours since I heard that name. Was she even in the fucking film?
Later that winter, Claire places a rose on Madison's grave, and that's what lies beneath.
Yes.
So what did lie beneath?
Madison.
Madison. Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard Hillman's car.
And what? So Madison was. What I don't understand is what created this ghost. So was Madison's ghost always there? Like, what was the thing that started it all off? Do you understand what I mean? Like in The Evil Dead, they read the Necronomicon and it brings the demons to life. Yeah. What was that moment in What Lies Beneath?
Boredom.
Boredom.
Absolute boredom. Michelle Pfieffer had nothing to do for the first time in so long, and then it all started to click into place.
Yeah.
Conveniently, her neighbour was almost murdered, apparently, and then that brought her attention to someone with the exact same initials, and it all just fell into place. If she wasn't too busy out clubbing with her daughter all those years before, then she would have noticed sooner.
But you know what I mean? It's kind of what... Was she just
I
always
genuinely-
a ghost
I
in the bottom of the
honestly-
lake?
Honestly think that is the explanation. It is
Okay.
genuinely Michelle Pfeiffer's boredom.
Okay.
Like, I can't think there's nothing else.
Like how ghosts latch on to vulnerable people.
Not even, I feel like she's always been there, but she's literally just noticed.
Oh, okay.
She was too distracted before. Oh my god, I love it. It's
I love
so
it.
camp.
It's campy
It's
fun.
not perfect. It's too long.
Way too long.
But it's
I would
so
shave at least half an hour
Yeah.
off of it.
Yeah, just everything of her walking around the house. It doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's give us some awards. Biggest queen, it should go to Claire, but it's got to go to Jodie.
I've got to give it to Jodie. She's she dressed a bit better, and she was way more fun than Claire. Claire was a little mopey at times. God bless
she's a little
her.
bit.
And the only time she really served cunt was when she was possessed by someone else.
It's true. It's true. Biggest gasp for me is the pink polo shirt. Because she doesn't have a lot of great outfits in this
No.
film, but that was too much.
For me, biggest gasp was Michelle Pfeiffer opening her legs to married men.
Best dialogue, it's yes, it's a beautiful thing, alimony. You lose a husband, get a car.
Completely agree.
And that's camp. It's Michelle Pfeiffer, Christina Crawford, neighbour Mary's shoe, a
Yes.
bottle of red wine, a candle, and a Ouija board in a bathroom.
Yeah, absolutely any moment with Claire, Jodie, and a glass of wine.
Yeah.
High camp.
Ratings, I give it 8 cups of kombucha mushroom tea to soothe headaches and promote psychic wellness out of 10.
I gave it 7 pink polo shirt, stonewashed denim, and chunky sandal ensembles out of 10.
Yeah. Masterpiece, trash basic, or a camp hole bunch of fun. For the first time in a while, it's a camp hole bunch of fun.
Camp hole bunch of fun.
It's available on DVD, video on demand, and Disney Plus. And if you enjoyed this, I recommend checking out Gaslight.
Yeah, if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed this, I recommend checking out Rear Window.
Yes.
Might as well just go to the original without the supernatural.
Yeah. So if you're a fan of this classic, then tell us on social media. We are Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm dead at Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazman205 on Instagram, and GazCruise92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker 823 on Letterboxd and Instagram.
And we're another week closer to the lineup announcement for Gasp Horror Festival.
Yes.
We have a shiny new logo. Go and have a look at that. We are Gasp Horror Fest across all social media. Last chance to get your films in before February 14th.
Yeah, it's drawing ever so closer, isn't it?
Yes. And that is it for our first episode of Women in Horror month. Next week is kind of Women in Horror, but it's also a break for our Valentine's special.
Oh, how romantic.
We've only got one Valentine's special this year. The rest of the month is all women in horror. Next week, though, we are discussing a film about a woman.
Yeah.
A psychotic woman.
Okay.
We are discussing The Loved Ones. Hope you're not scared of drills.
How romantic. I feel like it's gonna be really cute.
Yeah.
Young love.
The young love. Girl who just wants to be taken to the prom.
Can't wait.
We're back same time, same place next week.
Bye.